Flowers bloom with every breath. The sun and moon, they take a rest. I write your name up in the sky. Hearing your name makes me so high. Natural phenomenon, they take a rest. Unexplainable feeling up in the sky. I was lost, but I found you. Would you let me hold your hand and fly? You don't have to be afraid, everything will be alright. Stars align for you and I, maybe we should both try. You don't have to be afraid, you don't have to be afraid, everything will be alright. Stars align for you and I, maybe we should both. Would you let me hold your hand?
Alrighty, it's time to let everybody in. Hi, YouTube people, if there's anyone actually there. Gonna let all of our Zoom people in. Alrighty, it's time to let everybody in. Hello, welcome, Hi, everybody. YouTube people, if there's anyone actually there. Gonna let all of our Zoom people. Welcome all, welcome. How's everybody doing? Hello, Sarah.
Hey, how are you, Ivan?
Good. Nice to see you. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for setting this up. It's really wonderful.
So, Sarah, you can turn your camera off for the time being, don't worry. But if everyone wants to just take one quick minute, turn on your camera, wave hello, and then you can turn your cameras back off. What's up, everybody? Hello, welcome, everybody.
Hello, Ivan.
Hey.
Hello, everyone.
Is that Wayne? Oh my goodness. What's up, everybody? Nice to see you. Anastasia, what's up, Cole? Atif, welcome back. Anita, hello.
Thank you.
Avena? Did I say that right? Avena?
Abina.
Abina, sorry. The Latino
No
in me
problem.
wants to say Avena.
Yep, it's all good.
Hola, Avena. ¿Cómo estás? Colin, good to see you. Amanda, good to see you. You guys can turn your cameras off. I just want to give us a little wave and then you can turn your cameras off. We are live streaming to YouTube, so hello, YouTube community. For the millions watching around the world. I'm just kidding, it might be one person. And we're just going to give it another second to make sure everyone who showed up is here. Welcoming a few more people, welcome. And while we're waiting, everybody, could you do us a favor in the chat? Can you let us know where in the world you are? If you're in Toronto, what part of Toronto? If you're somewhere else in the world, where in the world? We'd love to hear it. Welcome, everybody. We're going to get started in just a moment with our How to Become a Voice Actor session. Welcome. Let us know. We got Calgary in the house. Toronto. Oh, Victoria. I love Victoria. Sudbury, the Big Nickel. Isn't Sudbury where that show is? Shoresy. Jack, nice to see you. Hello. Alberta, definitely in the house. Good to see you. Thank you. Luke. Yes. Welcome, everybody. Welcome. For everyone who's just joining us, we're just giving it another second to let anyone who is showing up just a bit late come in, and then we're going to kick it off. And don't worry, although you can't see him, Dan is in fact here. Oh my gosh, Lorelei, you're from Kansas? Welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
We are now officially, thank you, Laura. You have made us international, my friend.
And it's Lorelei.
Lorelei, excusez-moi. Sorry, excuse me.
That's good. Thank you.
Welcome. All right, my friends, we're going to get started. Hello, John. Nice to see you there. Thanks for joining us. You can turn your camera off now if you want. Good to see you, my friend. Welcome. So everybody, this is the How to Become a Voice Actor session. What I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to introduce the man we've all been waiting for. I want to tell you, when I first moved to Toronto and I was like starting from scratch again for an acting career, I'd been an actor in Vancouver for a little while. One of the first people I met was Dan Wilmot. And I said, hey, my name is Yvonne. He said, hello, my name is Dan Wilmot. And I was like, oh my gosh, that voice. Have you do voice work? And he's like, I do a lot of voice work. And over the time of our friendship, I now hear Dan everywhere. A lot of times with commercials, we don't realize how ubiquitous one person can be. And then you hear that person once, you're like, wow. But if you really want to know about Dan, I'm going to be sharing his IMDb link. Most recently, I think you might recognize Dan. Like, of course, he was in Mean Girls. He's probably best known for his part in Mean Girls. But if you watch season 3 of Fargo, you saw Dan Wilmot. If you watch the Christmas movie Let It Snow, you saw Dan Wilmot. If you saw Smallville, you saw Dan Wilmot. He's been in Private Eyes, Impulse, and we were actually on a movie together, and we didn't even realize it. Sorry, a TV show together called Psych, and we didn't even realize it. So with that being said, how about everyone in the chat? Here's how we're going to do applause. We're going to do a little bit of gibberish, just like this. That's how we're going to do applause. So everyone, please, how about a little applause for our guest speaker today, Mr. Dan Wilmot.
Yay!
There's the love. Thank you. And gang, before I let Dan take it away, thank you for sharing all the love. Here's how we're going to do questions. If you were here yesterday, you know it's going to be the same process. Instead of putting questions in the chat, what we're going to do is I'm going to share a link, and that link is to a Google Drive where you'll be able to post your questions. The reason we're doing this is that way we won't miss any questions. And if there's any questions we don't address in the session, Dan will follow up, make a little video for you guys. So everyone, please take a moment, click this link, scroll down a little bit and find a bullet. Click that link, scroll down and find a bullet. That is where we will be putting all of our questions. And with that, my friends, I'm going to pass the floor over to the mighty Dan Wilmot. Take it away, Dan.
Thank you very much, Yvonne. Yeah, Yvonne and I have been working together here in Toronto for about 10 years now. And then it was about 3 or 4 years after we knew each other that we were watching each other's demos. And we thought, I was in that. And the funny thing about that thing on Psych is that it's the same scene. He and I are both in it. We recorded our parts at completely different times. I'm a broadcaster describing what he's doing on the field. And didn't know till years later. Anyways, welcome to How to Be a Working Actor. Of course, as Yvonne said, I am Dan Wilmot, and there is going to be, I'm also involved with a company called VoiceSpot, where we train people how to be voice actors, but we also train people how to communicate better, more effectively, and speak from your heart with confidence, no matter how shy you are. That's one of the things we set up. So at the end of this session, there's going to be a special code that you can get a discount as a thank you for listening to me talk for an hour or more. So stick around for that. What we're going to cover today is how to work from home no matter where you are. That is very important now. We're going to talk about that. Learn the basics of a home studio on a budget. That's also important. Your demo, when and how to go about getting your demo and what should be on your demo. We're going to have some dessert about halfway through, just to, clean your palate. And we're going to talk about training online. We're going to talk about training in person, the differences and why one may be more important than the other these days. Where to look for work. This is very important. And this is something that has been changing a lot recently, but also it's the way that we started 25, 30 years ago. And that's becoming more important again today. How to audition and how to make a resume. Even if you're just a little kid and have no experience, how to make a resume. So if your parents have an exceptional child, this is going to be for you. So that's what we're going to cover today. Now, as I mentioned, there's been some major changes in voiceover. It has been happening over the last, I'm going to say 30 years, but more specifically, about the last 5-10 years, and particularly because of the pandemic, things have changed. They've changed all over, and we're going to be talking about how to utilize those changes to your advantage. When we started out 30 years ago, we were based in Calgary, and we were having a terrible time getting work because nobody believed there's any talent in Calgary. So they would hire people from Toronto or Vancouver. So we wanted to get the work. In order to get the work doing what we love to do, which is voiceover, we started creating our own work. And I'm going to talk about that later on because that's still just as applicable now as it is any other time. And it also helps you if you're in a smaller community, but it helps you anywhere. If you're in a community, if you've got a home studio, you can work anywhere in the world now, anywhere. We'll talk about that. What is voiceover? Basically, anywhere that there is a audio, there can be a voice. It can be radio, TV, movies, internet, podcasts, phone messaging, store messaging, audiobooks, documentaries. Anywhere there's audio, there can be voice. Sometimes you have to be the one who comes up with the ideas. Well, if they can do that, then they can do this. And we're going to talk about that a little bit later on. One thing to understand right off the bat, voiceover is not reading. Voiceover is sharing information to someone you know. So reading would be, once upon a time, there were 3 bears, a mama bear, a papa bear, a baby bear. They all lived in the magical forest in their house. Okay, so that's reading it. You want to get some information across to somebody that you know. How you doing, Cameron? You want to get the information across to someone you know. So if you were telling somebody an important piece of information, you say, once upon a time, there's 3 bears, a mama bear, a papa bear, and a baby bear. And they all lived in the magical forest in their house. Now, the difference is that you're communicating to someone, and that's what voiceover is. It's taking the information, putting it through your filter, and then communicating that information to someone that you know. So we're going to talk about more about that down the road. That's what voiceover is. Who should do voiceover? You should do voiceover. Everybody should do voiceover, and particularly if you're a performer. It doesn't matter if you're an actor or not. If you are a performer, you can do voiceover because you already know how to be heightened. You already know how to take some basic information, how to share that information emotionally to someone else. Even a dancer knows how to do that. A singer knows how to do that. It's the same with voiceover. Learning how to take information and transfer it emotionally to someone you know. Okay, we're going to talk about that. 2 things you need to do voiceover. You need a personality and you need a voice. If you're one of the people who've been said, hey, wow, you got a great voice, you should do voiceover. Yeah, that's part of it. But keep in mind that your voice is just the speaker. What you put through the speaker is the most important thing. And what you're going to put through the speaker is you, your personality. That's what you're bringing through the speaker. So if you take your personality and your lovely voice, then all of a sudden you've got something because you're sharing that information. If you take your personality and you put it through your squeaky voice, that's still pretty darn unique and can still get you work in all kinds of different aspects of it. But understanding it's your personality and tapping into who and what you are is the most important. What goes through the speaker is that. Okay? Now, clarity and personality, that's you being you. Okay? It's all about being a real person in a real place, having a real experience. Again, you're sharing information to someone you know, which makes a connection that they'll retain that information. And it doesn't matter if it's a commercial or if it's an animation or if it's an audiobook or even if it's e-learning or if it's just describing something. It's all the same. Some people say, well, I don't want to do commercials. That's selling. Don't think of it as selling. Think of it as sharing information to someone you know. That's why it's heightened. It's not that you're, buy this, it's good for you. It's more about, you're not going to believe what I found. I found this stuff. And if you take it, all of a sudden, it's got to be believable. If it's not believable, it becomes a sell job. And people will just back away from a sell job every time. So you don't want to sell. You never want to sell, even in commercials. You want to process. You want to take it through your person, and you're sharing that information with somebody you know. Okay, there's 2 different kinds of voiceover performers. There's the standard ones, and they're the ones who basically read and just make it heightened. Hey, once upon a time, there was 3 bears, a baby bear, a mama bear, and a papa bear. Now that's tongue in cheek. There are times to do tongue in cheek. There are times to be an announcer. Once upon a time, there were 3 bears, but that is not genuine. Unless it's done as a joke or as for humor, nobody's going to believe it. If you start saying that and you're talking about something genuine, they're going to back off. It's going to be, hi, how are you? I got a beautiful car to sell you. That's not what it's about. It's about, hey, have a look at this. This is something special. You want to be genuine. You want to be you. And how do you become you? That's what we talk about in voiceover. You sharing information through you, through your voice, and passing it along. Now, you can be a standard voiceover person, just a person who basically reads heightened, but is not sharing the information, or you can make it an art form. And the way it becomes an art form is by becoming you. Like when you paint a picture, you could paint by numbers, but it's not you. If you paint a picture coming from your soul and your heart, it's going to have a certain flair that is all you. The same with voiceover. That's why it's so important to be yourself. Have I hammered that enough yet? It's all about you being you and sharing the information that you have with yourself. Okay. There's two different kinds of voiceover performers, I find. The people that just read and make it sound really good, but they're not sharing an information. I call them the buffet. There are people that I could hire anybody on the buffet for $9.95, and that's fine. You know, I'll hire this person today, hire this person tomorrow, hire this person the day after. It doesn't matter, and they're all cheap. You want to become known for being yourself. You want to become known as the filet mignon. You want to become the triple A. Of course, if you're vegetarian, that would be anyway. You want to become the triple A Angus filet mignon. You want them to ask for you by name. Oh, who would be really good for this? Oh, we should get Dan. That's who we should get. We should get Dan. I love what he does. So when they start asking for you by name, that's when you charge $99.99, not $9.95. So not being on the buffet, you want to be on the menu. You want them to be asking for you by name. And the only way they're going to get to know you and your name is by you being you. Sound simple? It sort of is, really. You just got to get to a point where you're comfortable being yourself, sharing information. And there are tricks to doing that. We'll talk a bit about that in a bit as well. Now, here's the most important thing of voiceover right now that's changed dramatically in the last few years. It's been changing for the last, well, we started doing it about 30 years ago, but it's really started changing the last 5 or 10 years ago. And that's home studios. 2 reasons you have a home studio: so that you can practice in your own environment. 3 reasons: you can do work quicker and turn it around. And the third reason, and this is the most important reason, your competition has a home studio. There are still companies out there that are paying for studios to engineer and to do the work in the studio. But I'll tell you, it's all becoming electronic. Last fall, I had been working from home through the pandemic, and last fall, they gave me the option. I booked a job in Toronto, and they said, you can either do it from home or you can do it at the studio. And I thought, you know what? I haven't been in the studio for well over a year, so it'll be great to see everybody. So I go to the studio. I'm the only person there. There's a young fellow there who's setting up the board, and the rest of the time he's on his phone. Everybody else, the client, the engineer, the director, the account executive, there's 12 other people involved with the session besides myself, and they're all on Zoom, all of them on Zoom. I didn't see their pictures once, just their audio. That's all I heard at the end of each session. Yeah, Yvonne.
Just to piggyback with that, I have way less voice experience than Dan does. The only voice experience I have is working on video games. I do a lot of voices for video games. And most recently, the last 3 times I had to do it, it was just me in the studio alone with a tech, and then everybody else was virtual. I was literally looking at a screen that was like basically a Microsoft Teams or a Skype view. And the only reason I was in the studio is because we couldn't make my Wi-Fi stable enough for recording. So Dan is definitely on something. The home studio was it. And
well,
that's
at least
the reason. And it was a huge hassle. I was the only one.
At least you had pictures. I didn't see anybody. It was a blank screen. I just would hear them at the end of each take. It's like, yeah, just a minute. We're going to discuss that. Yeah, could you be a little slower on that, or whatever the things was. But that even the studios that are using technology are now doing it from home studios. Now, whether you have to have a full elaborate home studio initially, no, not really, because a lot of the work we're doing too is you sent the work, you sent the script, you record it, and then you send it out. They'll send back to you, yeah, we really liked it, but could you change this, and that? And you can do that work from home too. So it's a gradual process. What Yvonne was talking about is a thing called Source Connect, where I can go into my studio. It's this thing right here. I can go in there and I can record in another city, let's say Florida or whatever, and they record it in real time, and then that's great. But a lot of the work now is done, you do it at home, you edit it yourself, and then you send it to them, and they say, yes, we like this, we don't like this, we want to change this. And it makes everything a whole lot quicker than having to go to a studio, them booking a session, all of that stuff. And it's a heck of a lot cheaper too. So even the studios are not working in the studios anymore. Home studio is very important. before you say, oh God, it is a learning experience. There is a learning curve, but it doesn't have to be difficult. First of all, start putting a little bit of money away now. It doesn't cost a lot to get started in a home studio, but you're going to want to improve it as you get better at the industry. Okay. So basically, you're going to want to find a quiet space in your home, a quiet, dead space. We're going to talk about both of those. Quiet space is me being away from pipes. So if there's a toilet over top of you, right in the middle of your, and then she said, you don't want to hear that. So you want to be away from pipes if you can. You want to be away from refrigerators. They're noisy as heck. You want to be away from the furnace. You don't want to be in a basement if you've got a hardwood floor over top of you and somebody in your house walks around in high heel shoes. So all of these things are things to consider. You want to keep the noise as little as possible. Find a quiet corner. If you've got a basement, that's great. It's going to be easier to find one, but then you want it dead. Okay. And dead, by deaden, I mean go into a closet, and if there's clothes around it, that will deaden the sound. When the sound bounces, you get this echo effect. You don't want the echo effect. You want that as dead as possible. So there are other ways of doing it. I have made pillow forts in hotel rooms when I've been taking a portable studio with me and I need to record it. So you can make a pillow fort. You can put some moving blankets or even just blankets and make yourself a little room with these blankets around it. That will work to deaden the sound. Walking into my best studio I've ever had in my life was a walk-in closet with my clothes in it, and it had great lighting and everything. It was just fantastic. And I had that in LA for about 2.5 years, and it was the best studio I've ever had. But there are other ways to get around it. If there's noise, things like a refrigerator, which mine here just makes terrible noise, you can turn that off. You can turn off your furnace. Furnace, you're going to want to turn back on again because you'll freeze otherwise. But that's an easy fix because you'll think, it's getting really cold. Oh, shoot. Your refrigerator, not so much. What I do now is I put a knife in the door because I always forget to turn the fridge back on. And then I'm walking around and see, oh, shoot, there's a knife. Right. And then to turn it back on because I've ruined food many times. But you can find ways to turn off the noises. So get rid of the noise, find a place that's dead, and then that's how you're going to get started. You can have a $5,000 microphone, but if you've got lousy, treatment, we call it, it's going to sound lousy. You can have a $200 microphone and really good treatment, and you're going to sound great. So it's the treatment, the deaden, and the quietness is most important. Okay, let's talk about a basic home studio setup. This is not going to be hard. I'm going to make it simple because I'm an idiot, and this is how I learned. There are people out there who know more than you do about how to build a home studio. YouTube has tons of them. Some people get very technical. That's fine. I just did it one step at a time. And this is about 30 years ago. I did it once. Yeah, I was 10. Just take it one step at a time, and you can build your home studio slowly. Again, what you want to be able to do first, practice. What you want to do second, audition. What you want to do third is work. And you can build your studio accordingly as you want to go along with that. So the anatomy of a home studio. In a nutshell, home studios have 5 parts: a microphone, a preamp, an interface that makes the audio go from audio to digital, a DAW, or it's a program to record and edit your work, and a monitor to listen back to your work. Basically 5 steps. Now, most telephones have all 5 built right into them nowadays. So your phone, whatever kind of phone it is, unless it's the kind my dad has, the flip phone, most phones have all 5 in right now. You can start practicing voiceover with your phone. You can record, you can edit, and you can listen back to it. So to practice. There's ways around it. The microphone, okay, we talked about microphone. There's various kinds. If you get a USB microphone, they're the better quality now. If you spend between about $100 and $150 to $200, you can get a half decent microphone that's going to work for you for the first few stages of your home studio. It doesn't have to be expensive. Blankets and all that stuff, you've got them around the house. A computer, you already have, probably. You can even use a tablet in a lot of cases. You can even use your phone. It's not great, but it gives you a place to start. A microphone you can probably get for $150, $200, and it's a pretty good microphone. USB microphones are much better than they used to be. you can utilize them. The nice thing about a USB microphone is you've got the preamp and the interface to plug into your computer already included in the mic. So that's the advantage. There's basically two different kinds of microphones. You want, there's a dynamic and then there's a compression microphone. The dynamic is more the microphones that singers use, broadcasters use, people who make loud noises, podcasters, because sometimes they talk like this and it brings it all in. Now, the thing with a dynamic microphone is it's not as sensitive as the compression microphone. Compression microphones are something you can be very gentle to and you can get very close to, but they also will pick up. They're very less forgiving for plosives, which are popping P's, which I've done a couple times. And then, of course, then you get, you can always get one of these to help you out in that response. So if you're looking to do voiceover, you're going to want a sensitive compression microphone, whether it's USB or not. The thing is that realize it's a very sensitive microphone, so you're not going to want to yell into it. If you're going to yell, move your head away. A dynamic is more of a singing microphone, a broadcasting microphone, and a podcasting microphone. If that's what you want to do, that's great. A dynamic microphone is probably what you want, because you're going to be, you're going to be yelling at somebody, but you're going to be looking at them and you want the microphone to pick all that up. And again, you'll probably need one of these if you're going to yell. Okay, so that's your microphones. As we talked about, if you want to do a preamp and an audio interface, a USB is going to be pretty good right off the bat. If you get about $150, $200 microphone, your music store is going to be your best friend for the rest of your life. Get to know them. They know what they're talking about. If they don't, find somebody else who does. Generally, they'll be doing musicians and other things like that, but you will get some of them who know about microphones and the different types of microphones. Some of them will even rent you a microphone that you can take home and play around with for a weekend for like $5 or $10 or something like that. In Canada, Long & McQuaid is a national company here. I use them quite a bit. They have a big sale once a year too that you can get stuff for half price, and they also sell off their rental stuff. So again, get to know them. Like I say, there's all kinds of information on YouTube as well, on the internet. Look around. Usually go look at two or three different places, just so you get different ideas on the same thing, because some people really have no idea what they're talking about. Okay, the audio interface, if you've got a regular analog microphone like this, an audio interface, I use the Focusrite Scarlett. There's all kinds of different gear, but then you're getting into more expense. To start off with, like I say, a good USB microphone will solve that. You can plug that right into your computer. Again, talk to your music store about different interfaces. And as you get better and start getting better work, you're going to want better interfaces down the road. But that's something you can learn as you go. Again, take the time to learn. And if you don't know, find somebody who does, because there's people out there who know far more than we do. And we, at VoiceSpot, we even have, now that we're doing more home studio, like what we do at VoiceSpot is we teach people how to perform, how to interact, how to communicate. That's what we do. And we're also a resource. But now that home studios are so important, we're now accessing a fellow by the name of George the Tech out of Los Angeles, who I've worked with for years and years and years. In fact, that's where I go when I need to find out information, but more on that later. A DAW, a recording software. A DAW is it's just how you record, and you need it for practicing, and you need to learn how to edit as well. There are a couple that are free. The Digital Audio Workspace. Thank you. Audacity is a free program you can get. All the programs work very similarly. Audacity is free and it's easy to learn. So it's a great way to start. I like the fact it's free. Also, if you're an Apple person, GarageBand. Most Apples now, GarageBand comes along with it. And again, it's right in your computer. So it's something to play around with. You can record and learn how to edit. All the more expensive and the more robust programs all work on the same basic principles as Audacity and GarageBand. So they're a great place to learn and a great place to practice. So that's what you want to do. You want to get started. You want to get started inexpensively and just start playing around with stuff like that. Listening back, headphones. You can get speakers if you want to. If you've already got them set up for just for listening around the house, listening to music and stuff like that, great. Hook the speakers into your computer and listen back that way. Headphones are great because you can hear what you've done inexpensively. You can buy half decent headphones between $75 and $150 as well. It doesn't have to be real expensive to get started. And as I say, if you've got a speaker you can listen back to that you can just hook into your computer, great. It all works. So it's basically getting yourself started inexpensively, because as long as you're trying to look at expensive gear, you're going to keep putting it off. The idea is get the stuff, get it together for $300, $200 or $300. You can get started and start practicing and start playing around. And that's the important thing, is playing around with your voice, having some fun with it. What happens if I do this? What happens if I do this? What happens if I do this? All the different aspects of it. But get started and know that you're going to be putting money away to build a better studio down the road. I helped a fellow build a studio. It was before the pandemic. So how long ago was that now? 5 years ago? And we just basically used PVC pipe, moving blankets, and he built a box around his studio. He had a microphone. I don't think it was worth that much, maybe $200, maybe. He did it, had a setup, and he started doing audiobooks. That is his full-time job now. His full-time job is just doing audiobooks. He's a stay-at-home dad. He's got 2 little kids, and he's doing audiobooks, and he's making a darn good living doing audiobooks. Now, he's just moved to Saskatoon this past summer. And in the new house that they bought, because he sold his place in Toronto and he moved to Saskatoon, they built a studio in his basement. Like, he built everything he wanted. And he's making enough now that he was able to buy the gear that he wanted. He's upgraded his gear over the 5 years. He didn't keep the same stuff we set him up with 5 years ago, but he's upgraded, and he's a pro. He's a pro, and he does this as for a living. So it is possible, but do it gradually. Don't kill yourself. If you don't understand something, look it up and ask somebody. That's the way all of us have learned how to do it. And the only difference now is that it's more important now than it's ever been before. We did it in Calgary just because we had to 30 years ago. Now everybody has to, but it also gives you opportunities that may not have existed for you in your market or where you're living, even a couple of years ago. That may have all changed. Private coaching and classes, training. Training is going to be very, very important. The thing is your brand is going to be you. We've already talked about how important you being you is and what you know and who you are. That's your brand. That's what's going to make you on the menu. The filet mignon, the AAA Angus beef filet mignon, is you being you. Believe it or not, you may think, who's ever going to want to listen to me? There's something about your personality. It's the way you talk to your friends, the way you talk to your siblings, the way you talk to your parents, the way you talk to your kids. That is all a part of you. That's all genuine. And that's what's going to make you unique. And that's what you're going to start working on. How do I make that? How do I become comfortable in an unnatural situation with me being me, with all my idiosyncrasies? That's what's going to make you unique. And depending on your personality, that may also gear which way you're going to go and what kind of work you're going to try and do. We'll talk about that in a few moments too. So private coaching and classes. The thing is, every time there's a downturn in the economy, like 2006 and, the pandemic, all of a sudden there's all kinds of teachers and private coaches. There's a ton of them out there. There's lots of classes everywhere. And the reason is because these are so-called voiceover people that aren't working. So they're teaching. VoiceSpot has been doing these classes since officially as VoiceSpot in one form or another since 1996. The idea is how do you access your personality, your energy, your essence, and share it as if you're sharing it to somebody you know on a microphone? And how do you do that confidently? And how do you do that with fun and vigor and all those things that are going to make you stand out? That's what the classes are for. Now, the reason I prefer classes to private coaching is when you're in a class with other people, there's 2 sides of your brain. There's the analytical side, and then there's the creative side. When you're performing, you're using the creative side, at least hopefully you are. When you watch somebody else perform, you're using the analytical side. So you're watching somebody do something, an exercise, and you're going, oh, well, that's interesting. I wonder why they did it that way or whatever. Then when you get up in front of the microphone or on the stage or whatever it is, then you're moving it in your creative side. So you get to try what you've just analyzed. And by putting those two pieces together, that starts helping you build, and you'll learn that way. If you're in private coaching, and I agree that private coaching is necessary, but it's more for specifics, I find. If there's something specific, you have a lisp you want to work on, if you have an issue, or if you're learning how to speak a different dialect or whatever, if there's something specific, private coaching works. The reason I don't like it for training, and I have trained people that are shy or people that are big stars and don't want anybody to know they just didn't come by this honestly, is that you're in the analytical or you're in the performance all the time. I usually get people to record their sessions together. And as you record the session, then the idea is that we will work for an hour on a project. Then you're supposed to go home and listen to it so that you can analyze the performance. Most people don't do that. So I find it takes about 3-4 times longer to learn how to do something through coaching than it does to take a class, because you've got an opportunity to do both, analyze and perform. That's private coaching in classes. Very, very important. And also it's important to learn from different people, not to learn just from one person, because they're going to take you on this journey, which is fine. But you need to learn a bit from this person, a bit from this person, a bit from this person, and then amalgamate it all together into your performance style. That's what's going to help you become unique. Take it a little bit from everybody and make it your own. Okay. When VoiceSpot started 30 years ago-ish, it was to be a resource in Calgary for performers, and because there wasn't a lot really online or anywhere else. And some of the information that was out there was a little bit dodgy. So that was the original thing. And also we wanted to train. I mean, we hadn't originally planned on doing classes, but we started to train because the few of us there trying to make work for ourselves, we started to build that. And the people in Calgary that started with us back about 30 years ago are still working out of Calgary as voice artists and doing very, very well. And they have been for a while. Now, I left because I'm also an actor. And, you know, as you grow your performance, you need to have new opportunities and new markets to work in. So what we did in Calgary at the time, because as I say, most of the work was coming from Toronto and Vancouver, we had to learn how to audition in Toronto and Vancouver for work for Calgary. But also we started creating ideas on how we could work in Calgary. And a lot of those principles are now principles that we can use with the whole industry the way it's becoming. The idea is find and we're going to get more into this in a few minutes, but find people you know that you can help out by doing voiceover. For example, what job do you already have? You already know about the business. You already know about the people. Maybe they're going to be doing a demo. Maybe they're going to be doing a corporate video. Maybe they need a phone answering machine. There's all kinds of things with the people you already know that you can build a business on. We'll talk more about that in a bit as well. Demos. What your demo is going to be what your business is going to be. If you want to talk about, if your business is working in an area where you train people medically, maybe that's what you're going to do. You want to start creating some e-learning for medical people. So that's what your demo is going to be. But the bottom line for your demo is going to be you highlighting what you do well. That's the idea of the demo. We're going to talk more about that in just a moment.
Hey, Dan, I just wanted to jump in before. I was trying to sneak in before you jumped into the demo part, because I wanted to share a couple of things and maybe throw out a question that's relevant to what you were just saying. Okay. So first of all, in regards to a home setup, I found 2 pictures for everybody. So here's the first picture. And what you can see in this picture is it's basically the little audio box. There's a microphone headset, and this is the DAW. Basically, for me, it's always Audacity, but I think this might be GarageBand. Okay. Another way to see it, because I find visuals are very helpful. Here's another great picture, everybody. It's just this little audio interface, cords, the laptop, that's definitely Audacity right there, and the microphone. You don't need to have a stand. The only difference between these pictures and what Dan was saying is Dan would be in his closet covered in blankets.
I do that anyway. That's another story.
Now, Dan, I wanted to throw out a quick question for you, just because it was a bit relevant to stuff like some of the things you were talking about right now. We talked already about what computer programs to use, and I think that's a good one. We've talked a little bit about the standard setup for a home studio. That was another question someone had. But then I had a couple of very interesting, very specific questions. Do you need to deaden the ceiling? Cover it with anything? And then the second question is it better to deaden the space behind the speaker or in front of the speaker?
It's always because where is the sound coming from? It's coming from you forward. So you want to deaden this part right here. In fact, I had a piece that I used years ago when I was traveling, and it was literally a half circle with foam on it, maybe about that high. And I would take that into, as I say, a hotel room or whatever, and I would just put it there, and that's enough because it's the bounce you're trying to get rid of. You'll notice if you ever go into a studio or whatever, if they have a music stand that your script's going to go on, they usually have foam or they'll have a carpet on it again, so there's no echo, there's no bounce off of that, because that's what it gives it a ringing sound or an echo. So your ceiling, not so much. I do know people who do it. I mean, my booth in there is completely covered. Behind you, not so much. I mean, that can be open. That gives it a little bit of a thing, because a little bit of a natural sound, as opposed, if it's too dead, it doesn't sound quite right. So depending on what kind of a project I'm doing, I'll have the door open or I'll have the door closed. But as long as the sound, because understanding the sound is going this way, that's where you want the reflection stopped. And it doesn't have to be. And play around with it too. I mean, if you go into your room and you just talk and listen, when you start listening to it, you'll hear it if there's a lot of echo. And so you want to get rid of that. You want to get rid of as much echo as possible. The reason we do blankets all around us, including the top, is that helps soundproof it a little bit. It's not going to, if it's a really loud noise, it's not going to get rid of it completely, but it could get rid of it enough that you can take it, like I think even Audacity has a noise reduction program on it to help that as well. So it doesn't have to be too elaborate, but play with it. Play with it a little bit. If it's a little corner, or if it's a closet, I mean, you're using the closet for other things anyway. You know, this is something I do with anything to do with voiceover and any performance. Just play. Don't take it too seriously. Just go in and play with it, and you're going to tell, did that sound good? I'm not. And if you're not sure, you can send audio to somebody who does know and just say, Dan, because I did all this stuff and I'm not sure if this sounds any good. Is this all right? And I'll say, yeah, no, obviously you don't have anything, you know, you got metal in front of you or whatever. And you can usually tell pretty quickly. But while we're stopped, I do want to, because the thing I think I've laid into it a little bit, that you have to be who you are and what you know. So I thought now would be a good time to take a nice break and do some dessert.
Desserts.
So what we're going to do is we're going to get some volunteers. I'm going to just see if I can pick this up here, and hopefully this will work.
So let's do this. Yeah. If you guys want to volunteer, maybe just turn your cameras on and we'll select from the people with their cameras on.
Can everybody see the,
boom. I got a few of you look at all you brave souls jumping in here.
Can you guys
Dan,
all
you should be
see
able to
the
see.
Godiva chocolate brownie sundae? Can you guys see that whole script?
Yes,
Everybody can see
you're
it?
sharing it.
Okay. So what I want you to do, and we're going to take it step by step. I want to volunteer. So we got, I see Anita. I don't see a lot of people. So you'll
Dan,
have
we
to help
got
me here.
Anita, Colin, Nikki, Dwayne, Sophia, and that's
Okay.
everyone we have so far.
Okay. So we'll start with Anita.
And
what I
Jack
want
is
you
trying.
to do, Jack is trying. What I want you to do first,
And Cam,
Anita,
I see.
is
Sorry,
I want you
Dan.
to look. Yep. I want you to look at the first one there. And here's what I want you to do. I want you to make me taste this. You read the title, and then when you actually describe it, I want you to make me taste it as you're describing it.
Okay.
In whatever way you want to. I'm not going to give you any direction off the top here. I just want you to the only direction is read the title and then make me taste it.
Okay. Godiva chocolate brownie sundae. Our own fabulous Godiva chocolate brownie. Vanilla ice cream. Hot fudge. Whipped cream and toasted almonds.
Very nice. Very, very nice. All right. Who's next? Colin? That's who I see next.
Hi. Okay. Thank you.
Hi, Colin. Now here's what I want you to do. The same one.
Okay.
Although I want you to make it, no, I'm not going to say seductive because that always gets creepy. I want you to make it very, gentle. Read the title, and then I want you to make it very, very gentle.
So the Godiva one?
Yep.
Okay. Sorry, because I'm working from my phone here, so I gotta make it bigger a little bit.
No, don't make it bigger. I want you to make it gentle. I want you to think gentle. Very,
No,
very
no, I
gentle.
gotta make it bigger to read it because my eyes are.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay, yeah. Okay,
So make it. Sorry, what did you say again, please?
gentle. You're making
Gentle.
it very, very gentle.
Okay, I can do that. Godiva chocolate brownie sundae. Our own fabulous Godiva chocolate brownie, vanilla ice cream, hot fudge, whipped cream, and toasted almonds.
Nice, very good. Let's go down a little bit here. Okay, down to limoncello here. Next
up
is
is- Oh, sorry,
Dwayne?
Dan. I'll keep track if you want.
yeah. If you keep track, that'd be great.
Yeah. Next up, we'll have Dwayne.
Okay, Dwayne, limoncello, and I want you to make it your own, whatever that means.
Okay. Layers of vanilla cake, lemon mascarpone cream topped with strudel or streuse sauce that you like and served with strawberries and whipped cream.
You want another go at it?
I didn't know how to pronounce those two words.
Is it mascarpone? Mascarpone?
Mascarpone? Mascarpone?
Mascarpone.
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 Strauss.
Mascarpone.
Mascarpone?
It's Italian. And then streusel was right.
Strudel. Okay.
Streusel.
Oh, thanks, Jack. Mascarpone.
All right. Let's try again. Mascarpone.
That's right. Okay, make it your own. I mean, you did make it your own. That was good. I want you to just make it your own again with the
Okay.
right words. Okay.
Layers of vanilla cake and lemon mascarpone cream topped with strudel and served with strawberry and whipped cream.
Nice. Okay, next one. Who's next? We're going to go to
We have
tiramisu.
Sophie, Madame Sophie.
Sophie.
Hello.
Now-
hello.
Sophie, I want you to be as close and as quiet as you possibly can. You're almost whispering. Just use a little bit of voice, but almost whispering. And take your time with it.
The tiramisu?
Yes.
Tiramisu. Italian custard made with mascarpone, whipped cream, lady fingers, marsala, and coffee liquor, topped with whipped cream and ground chocolate.
Okay, I want you to do it one more time. And each one, it's almost like each one is a question, but it's not a question. It's an up inflection on each one. It's like you're anticipating the next one. So each one is you're anticipating the next. Does it make any sense to you, what I'm saying? So you're anticipating. I don't want to give you a line reading, but you're saying the first one, but then anticipating the next one, and then anticipating the next one, and then anticipating the next one, and then you bring it all together with the top with whipped cream and ground chocolate. Does
Okay.
that make any sense? Okay, I like your answer.
Build
I'll
it.
try.
But yeah, it's building it, but it's anticipation. You're building anticipation each time, and then you bring it all together with the topped with whipped cream.
Tiramisu. Italian custard made with mascarpone, whipped cream, lady finger, marsala, and coffee liquor, topped with whipped cream and ground chocolate.
Very, very nice. Very, very nice. Let's go down to
Merci, Sophie.
Uh,
Next up is Mr. Jack Cox.
Okay, Jack. Cinnabon cinnamon swirl.
And by the way,
cheesecake. Yes.
before we jump into Jack, in the chat, if you're like, give me a little smiley face if you've been like saying these to yourselves as everyone else has been doing it. 'Cause you guys have probably all been like, mascarpone. Da, da, da.
Yeah.
Like I've been just doing. I'm trying not to saying it out loud so I don't distract you guys. Anyways,
All
Ben,
right.
take it away.
This
Okay, so
one.
you're doing cinnamon swirl cheesecake.
Mhm.
I want you to make it sound. I want to be able to taste it, but
Mm.
I also want you to make it somewhat exotic in your own way.
Oh, okay.
Don't think. Just have fun.
Cinnabon cinnamon swirl cheesecake. Layers of Cinnabon cinnamon cheesecake and vanilla crunch cake, topped with cream cheese frosting and caramel.
Very good. Very, very good. Who's next?
Next up is Nikki.
Hey, Nikki.
We got Nikki. We're going to do Nikki, Jason, and then Cameron. And Samantha,
Okay.
just for the sake of time, we won't have enough, but nice to see you there. We'll try and get you in on the next one.
Okay, Nikki. Again, the same thing. Reese's peanut butter chocolate cake cheesecake. The same thing. I want you to make it sound exotic. I want you to make it so we taste it. And I want you to take your time with it. Just take your time. As if, no, I'm not going to give this anymore. I want you to do what you do. You bring Nikki to it.
Reese's peanut butter chocolate cake cheesecake. Chunks of Reese's peanut butter cups in our original cheesecake with layers of delicious fudge cake and caramel.
Really nice. All right, I'm going to find something here. Okay, we're going to do toasted marshmallow s'mores galore.
Thank you, Nikki.
Thanks, Nikki.
Delicious.
That was great. Yes. Is it who's next?
That's Jason is next, and then we'll end off with Cam.
Okay. I want you to make this exotic. I want you to make it so we taste it, but I want it to be a secret. This is a secret.
Okay. Toasted marshmallow s'mores galore. Hershey's cheesecake topped with chocolate ganache. Finished with toasted house-made marshmallow and honey-made graham crackers.
Those graham crackers sound amazing. We have one more. We have one more.
We got time. Well done, Jason. Thank you very much.
Adam's peanut butter fudge ripple cheesecake. Same thing. I want you to make it. So I taste it. I want you to make it exotic, and I want you to make it a secret.
Is that me?
Yes, Cam, that's you.
Yeah.
All right. Adam's peanut butter cup fudge ripple cheesecake. Creamy cheesecake swirled up with caramel, peanut butter, butter fingers, and Reese's peanut butter cups.
Very, very nice. Nice work,
Ticket
everybody.
for here or to go.
Hey,
Nice
Dan,
job,
can I
guys.
try one real quick, just for funsies?
Oh, all right. Let me see if I can find you a good one.
Oh, wow, you have so many of these.
This is a really good exercise. That's why. Peppermint bark cheesecake.
Okay.
And I want you to make it your own.
Peppermint bark cheesecake. White chocolate cheesecake swirled with chunks of chocolate peppermint bark, topped with white chocolate mousse, and finished with chopped peppermint. Available after Thanksgiving through the holidays.
Nice. Very good. Very nice work, guys. How do we get out of the I'm going to admit that person.
So you can stop sharing screen, and everyone, you can turn
There
your
we go.
cameras off.
And everybody goes, nice job, guys. The thing is with things like that, I mean, yes, bring yourself to it, but also don't be afraid to play with things like crunchy or swirl or, mousse, play with alliterations, play with sounds, play with, making things sound like, crunchy or stuff like that, because that'll also enhance, you sharing that information with people. So now that we've talked about how you sound like yourself, we're working on the demos here. So on demos, you want to bring what you bring to the table in your demo. A demo does not have to be long and drawn out. It does not have to be full commercials. It does not have to be things you've already done. It can be things but it should sound like you. Like the thing to be aware of is going to a place that does demos and they make you sound fantastic. That's great, except when somebody hires you, if you can't recreate that becomes a deficit in your corner, because they're not going to hire you again. They're not going to bring you in for an audition or even to hire you. So you want to be able to create things that you can create at home, that you can do in your home studio. And regardless of what it is you're trying to do, what your business is going to be. If you're going to start doing narrations for the company you currently work for, maybe get some of those scripts that they've been using already, that they've got Bob in the back office doing, and he sounds horrible. Or even getting what Sheila does on the answering machine. That sounds horrible because they have no idea what they're doing. They're just reading the script. So if that's what you want to do, starting off with, I mean, you're going to need a different demo for everything you do. If you're going to do commercials, you'll need a commercial demo. If you want to do animation, you're going to need an animation demo. If you're going to do documentaries, you're going to need a documentary demo. You need a demo for everything. So don't make them long, make them short, get them to the point. You only need maybe on the shorter things like commercials, animation, things like that, you only need about a minute at the most, like 45 seconds to a minute and a half at the most. And just use little snippets. You don't need things like addresses. You don't need things like, downtown Toledo. You don't need stuff like that. You just need to talk about the emotional things of you sharing information with somebody you know. That's the part you need. So about 8 to 10 seconds, you put those together, different ones. So you have one where you're excited. You have one where you're sort of sensitive. You have one with that maybe that you're a little stern, or you're maybe, listen, this is very, very important and you need to hear this. I mean, you need to have those different emotional states, but it's still you sharing information with somebody you know, regardless of what the demo is going to be. Now, there was a time, and there still is now in a lot of places, where they do demos in a studio. And that's great. If you have access to one, I would interview them, a couple of them, before you make that decision. Now, because of the way things are, if you can record good quality audio, you can take the pieces together and send them to either a studio or somebody you know who knows how to do some engineering, some editing, and they can put it together for you. If it's for something at your business, it doesn't have to be all bells and whistles. It's just basically showing them what you can do with the scripts they already have. So again, creating your own work is very, very important. So your demo is going to reflect that, what work you want to do and how to put it together. If you do go to a studio and you've interviewed them, make sure that the demo that they come out, and don't be afraid to tell them how you want it differently. Make sure it sounds like you. Don't make it something that sounds fantastic. I've had so many demos sent to me where the studio or the client has said, listen, can you redo their demo for them? They don't sound anything like this. You want something to them to be able to tell who you are, what you can do, and what you can bring to them. You're trying to solve their problems for them. So start thinking about it in that way. You're trying to solve their problems. The better you can solve their problems, the better it's going to be for everybody. Okay. This is really a brief thing on demos, but it's just figure out what you want to do. Keep in mind, you are running a business now, and how can you get them to know what it is you can do? You're going to need some training so that you're able to get that out there, so that you're able to be confident being yourself, sharing information to somebody you know. But practice. And that's why it's so important to have a home studio. You have a home studio if you've got a phone, so you can practice now. Next trick is start reading everything you know out loud. And the reason you do that is because when you read to yourself, you're using one part of your brain. When you're reading out loud, you're using a different part of your brain. You want to be able to read out loud and comprehend what you're reading as you go along. If you're doing anything that's long form, even commercials, but documentaries, narration, audiobooks, anything like that, you're going to need to comprehend because it'll keep you from starting and stopping all the time. So start practicing reading out loud. Read everything out loud. Listen back to it. Okay, did that sound like I believed what I was saying, or is it sound like I'm reading? And you can do that on your phone. We've talked about this already a bit. Where to look for work? You can look for work anywhere. Anywhere there's audio, there's potential for you to work there. I went into a Canadian Tire one time, and they had some kid saying, on aisle 3, you'll find lawnmowers at half price. So I went in and proposed, well, what if I did that for you? And I, so many per week, you would pay me so much. And I did that for 2 years, just going home, recording it, their messages, and they would just play it, and they had somebody sounding professional. Now you'll hear it all the time. There's music and all, there's like radio stations and in stores, and it's Shoppers Drug Mart and different places like that. But back in the olden days, they had some kid just reading it on a microphone. So if you hear that type of thing, there's a potential for work for you. As I said before, if there's things where you currently work now, where they could use audio and you recording, particularly if you've got a home studio, you can record stuff for them and they can pay you now, and you can start building a business that way. That's the best way to build business. They already know you, they already trust you, and they'll believe that you know what you're talking about, hopefully. But that's the way you start building businesses. Yes, there are different places like you can go online and look for jobs there. There's places like voices.com, Voices123. They will charge you so much a year, and they will send you auditions and you send them out. If you're going to do that, I would do that when they have a sale on, because they're about $500 US now a year. So if you can get like 6 months on sale for $200, try it then and just see how it goes, just to see how it works. I know some people make a lot of money on them. I used to, I belonged to both of them in 2004, and I think till 2006 to 2007, I did very well with both of them, but they changed the algorithms because their idea is that they want more people to come onto their site, because they're trying to make money from everybody, whereas you're trying to make money for yourself. So it's a balancing act to see what works, what doesn't work. We'll get to that in a moment. There's a question about how much do you charge as a beginner. Keep in mind, I will say this now, keep in mind that you are a brand. It's not because you've been doing this for 100 years, 10 years, 5 years, 3 weeks. You are a brand. They are paying you for what you sound like, your personality you're bringing to it. So we'll talk about ideas on how much to charge in a bit there. So you're running a business, where to find work. We've talked about that. There's ways. Do you need an agent? Not yet. If you're starting out, once you start getting better at it and you start meeting people and talking to people, the thing about a voiceover agent is, because you can work anywhere in the world, especially if you have a home studio, you can have agents in different parts of the world. You can have an agent in France. You can have an agent in the States. You can have an agent in Vancouver and in Toronto, Singapore. You can have agents all over, but get your legs under you first. Start getting some work, start working on your craft, start working on your demos. And once you're there, then you can start branching out. And it's basically like dropping a pebble in a pond. You want to get the ripples closest to you. And then as you get more experienced and learn more about it, you can start trying to venture out farther and farther and farther. Yeah. How to audition? Make it your own. Go in there and make it your own. The one thing we do, and we do this in any kind of performance, what do they want? Well, what they want is you. Most of them, they don't have a clue what they want. They want to see what you're bringing to it. And if you bring something really, really exciting to it, they're going to say, oh, I liked what Dan did. Yeah. Now, the frustrating part is when you hear somebody else doing the job, but they did what you brought to it. That's frustrating, but they don't even give you a writing credit for that. But the idea is bring something of yourself to it. What would I say in this situation to somebody I know? What would I say? And if you change who you know, if you're saying it to your dad, it's going to be different than if you're saying it to your dog, hopefully. But what would happen if I'm in this situation and I'm saying this to my dad? How would I do it? What would it be in this situation if I had this situation, I had to say it to my dog? What would that sound like? So that's the thing with auditioning. Again, keeping in mind, you are you. Bring you and what you know to the performance, to the audition, everything. And you're not going to be right for everything. But the thing is, you want them to get to know who you are, what you do, and all your idiosyncrasies, the fun that you have. And that's the key thing with all of this. Have fun. Just have a really good time. Are we ready for questions now? I mean, I've got a couple more things I want to talk about.
Hey, Dan. Yeah, we got about a half hour left. So maybe let's kick out some of these questions and see if we can get knock them out in a minute each or something. But can I jump in with one little comment I had again with my limited kind of a video game experience?
Yeah.
So one of the big things, and Dan is very right, by the way, a couple of things happened. Number one was I auditioned for a bunch of Ubisoft stuff and never got it. But the first time I actually did book a Ubisoft thing, They're like, I was talking to, they're very open when you talk to them. We were hanging, I was talking to the casting director, and she mentioned, Yvonne, we loved all the takes you had, but there was just other voices that like kind of fit those specific parts better. We wanted to have you in. That's why we kept having you back, because every time you came in, you always gave us really good choices. And I'll never forget that. You always came in with like a really good, strong choice that made sense. And that's why they kept auditioning me. My friends, the only time you got to stop worrying is when they stop calling you for auditions. If you're auditioning for the same person and they never book you, that is a win, because it means the casting director likes you and they're trying to get you work.
That's right.
Even if you're not 100% right for the part. So with that being said, thank you very much. I got a courtesy clap. Okay,
I'll
so
give you one
let's
too.
go through some of these. So there was one question that, is there a way to put 2 microphones into one interface? I've had issues getting the other one to go. I mean, Dan, that is such a technical question, and there's so many different things to do about it. If you can answer it, yes. Otherwise, whoever that is, that's a question you got to like go on YouTube and do some research on. But I do know a lot of audio interfaces have 2 plugs.
Yeah. And in fact, one I have, it has 2 plugs as well, and I do have that issue as well, and there's no rhyme or reason to it. But I think the interface I'm using right now is one that is used for podcasts, so they want 2 microphones, and that's usually, if it's not working for 2 microphones, it's not. But this is the thing, is that I'm a performance artist. I do performance. You should see me do performance dance, but I'm an actor. I'm a voice artist. That's what I do. And that's why it's so important now to have people around you who know about the technology, because I don't. And I've been doing this 30, 40 years plus. But the thing is that, but I know I don't know it. And so that's why I've got people now. That's why there's tons of stuff on the internet. Some of it's good, some of it's not so good. George the Tech with VoiceSpot, we're going to get him. We've included him. He's out of LA. I've worked with him for about 25, 30 years now. Great guy. He never ages, so he'll be around forever. But he knows this stuff, and he's posted tons of free videos. Now he's now creating a website because he finally realized he probably has to make a living at this. He does locally to help people with their studios, but that's the thing, is find people, get to know the guys at the Long and McQuaid in your neighborhood, if there is one. If there's no Long and McQuaid, there's other music stores that you can get to know them. Because that's the type of thing that you're going to need. You're going to need to build a team, and one of your team is going to be the technical people. You don't need to know everything. Just bring what your strengths are. Get somebody else who's smarter than you to do the other stuff.
And Dan, maybe perhaps with your friend, your colleague at VoiceSpot, maybe if you guys check out voicespot.ca, Dan will make a post if they're ever going to do a session, or maybe you guys could run something like this.
We're going to have a page on it, and we're going to do something very similar to this. Is George the Tech? He's the guy. George Whittam is his name. He's just starting up he's doing the beta of his website now. We're going to have a VoiceSpot page on it, so anybody who comes through our program will actually get discounts through George the Tech. But that's coming. That's something that we realize, that home studios are so important now, and each of the people that work with me at VoiceSpot, we built our own home studios over the last 20, 30 years using people like George and other people to help us, because like I say, all we want to do is work. We just want to do voice work. And yes, we have to know how to edit. Yes, we have to know how to mix. Yes, we have to know how to do this, but we don't have to know how to do it well. And if you're doing a lot of work, like there's people that I know who do a lot of audiobooks, they just hire people to do the editing for them, because they're making more money performing and reading than they are editing. Yeah. So they hire somebody else to do it. So
the next question is, oh, sorry, Dan.
Just know your strengths.
So the next question is, do you need an agent to get voiceover audiobook work? And I think the answer to that is yes and no. Dan, before you jump in, can I just share a few images?
Yep.
So gang, certainly if you want to do union work and kind of high quality work, sooner or later you are going to need an agent. And I'm going to let Dan talk about that. But I just want to share a couple of resources for all of you. Okay, this is mainly for non-union work where you represent yourself. So can everyone see my screen here? Voices 1, 2, 3. These are paid services, by the way. So Voices, I think you have to. This one's either you pay every time you submit to audition, or you pay an annual fee. If not, there's this one, which is voices.com. Again, it's either an annual fee or you pay for every submission. There is Upwork, which is just a freelance website, but you can post yourself there as a talent, find talent. People do it all the time. Many, many years ago, I booked my first voice gig here. It wasn't a lot of money, but it was experience. And then lastly, this is an Amazon service. If you want to be like a voice, an audiobook reader, this is a service that you can do in Amazon. And these are all self-represented non-union work. Don't expect a lot of money, but they're all great places for experience.
Yeah, and the other thing too about the voices.com, voices123, I did mention them earlier. They do have information on there. You can post your demo on their sites even if you're not a paid member. If somebody happens to find you, they can still offer you work, but it's very, very rare. They do cost about $500 US each a year. You get them when they're on a sale if you want to try them out. ACX, the great thing about ACX is that it helps you get audiobooks, but they also have a tutorial on how to build a home studio that's good enough quality for them to do audiobooks for them. So it's not a bad place to go, and they will give you tips and ideas on how to build it, and they don't cost you anything. They're looking for talent. And if you ever listen to audiobooks, there's a lot of really bad talent out there. So they're waiting for you. So the thing is that's not a bad way to just, if you're as you're building your home studio, or at least getting information about it, go through the ACX site. It'll show you how to build a studio that's a quality that they will demand you have to have. And it's a good idea just as a gauge on how you're doing as far as your home studio goes.
All righty.
Next
question. What kind of questions do you ask a studio if you're going to go to them for a demo?
Ask them how they work, how they operate, what's their philosophy. There's some I don't really respect, and there's some that I do. And that's hard. Do you have a list anywhere that they could find like good studios, Dan? Not really, because it's the studios are really doing the audio only. There's companies around them that are building the demos, and those are the companies so you might have 4 different companies that do work in one studio. So it's making calls. Do you do demos? How much do you charge? What do I get for what you charge? How do you work? So those are the key questions to ask. Can I bring my own audio? Can I send you audio that you can edit? Because if you can do your own audio at home and it's good quality and they can edit it, it's going to cost you a lot less than having them do everything for you. Like a demo now is going to, depending on where you are, is going to anywhere from $500 to $5,000. So, and there are people in LA that you can send audio to, and they'll do your demo down there and charge you a couple $1,000s, and it'll sound amazing. But again, you want to keep in mind, you want it to sound like you. So, all the bells and whistles and all that other stuff, be careful with that. Because if you spend $2,000 on a demo that sounds absolutely amazing, everybody's, oh my God, you're incredible. If somebody hires you and you can't do that in the session, they're not going to hire you again. And people talk. So, you want it to sound like you. It doesn't have to be spectacular. It's just you sharing an experience with someone you know. That's the bottom line. That's what it has to be. It has to be believable, you sharing an experience with somebody you know. And that's basically it.
I would also add a quick thing. Do what Dan says in terms of going around asking studios. Make a short list of 3 or 4, and then go on a Facebook community that's in your city. Toronto Actors, Canada Voice Actors, America Voice Actors, whatever. There's a bunch of these Facebook groups, and vet them. Say, has anyone done an audio thing in this studio? You're going to get all kinds of random replies, but see what the average is.
Google them as well, and also ask people to DM you, send you a private message if they have any thoughts about it, because people are less likely to do that on an open forum, or if they do, chances are they have other reasons as well. So get them to private message you if they have any suggestions or not.
Can I make my own script for demo reels?
You can, but you don't have to. There's so many scripts out there. There's like thousands and thousands and thousands at different sites where you can get scripts. And don't use anything you've heard on the TV or radio or internet that's really popular, because you're going to be compared to it. Find scripts that have nothing to do with your community or just, and you're only going to be using 10 seconds of it anyway. You don't have to, You don't have to have a full script. You might want to record almost a full script and just take pieces out of it, but you don't want to. But yeah, if you go online and Google scripts, there's
There's lots of them. There's a lot. Just look voice scripts. Absolutely.
GVAA has scripts. There's just it's a global voiceover artists association. They have classes as well, but they also have scripts. And just go voiceover scripts, search, you get tons of them. Yeah.
Next question is, I'm going to ask you, so there's one person who said, where do you meet people? And I'm not sure what that question is referring to. So whoever wrote that,
Tinder is where you meet people.
Whoever wrote that question, elaborate on it, please. While you're doing that, do you need both the preamp and audio interface?
If you have a USB, no. A USB, that's why USBs are you can get but make sure you've got a half decent quality. Even the cheaper ones are better than they used to be. I still prefer the old style, but your costs are going to go up. And when you're starting out, get a half decent, spend the money on a half decent USB, and then all that's covered. And again, work with your music company or the Long and McQuaid's or whoever is in your neighborhood, and even go online and search them out. If you're looking at different microphones, like I say, I know Long and McQuaid, I think it's $5 a day. You can rent 2 or 3 different microphones, take them home, $15, play around with them and see which you like the best, and go back and say, what are the advantages. But that's the thing. And when you're starting out, you want to keep the costs low, but you still want to have quality. You don't want to just because it's $10 or $50. You don't sell yourself short. Get something that you can actually start working with now when you're doing it.
In a professional studio, is the microphone set up for recording from standing or sitting position? I have a physical disability that prevents me from standing for long periods. I'm going to jump in with a quick one from a few of my experiences. A lot of these places will always have one of those high chairs for some reason. Or they'll always have, I don't know why, there's just I think it's so they can see you. So there's a lot of places that have high chairs. I'm a big stander. I think, Dan, you're a big stander too. I never, when they ask, do you want to sit? I said no. But if it's a physical thing for you, they'll always have a chair.
Yeah, they will. And here's the reason it's not so they can see you. It's because when you're up, you're open, because you breathe from your tummy. A lot of people, if they're lazy, they like to sit down. And then if you're over the age of 25 for men, your tummy starts to pushing up against your lungs and you can't breathe as well. So you don't have as much energy. So that's why I prefer standing, because your energy is going to last. But if you're doing a 25-hour audiobook, it's going to be hard. So what we do is, that's why you have the high chairs. They have the high chairs because you can still sort of open everything up and lean up like that, and or stool, so that if you're not standing, maybe you can just lean back on the stool. Or if you're performing, like audiobooks, I have a stool and but I keep myself open. So if you have depending what your disability is, it's very important to keep that in mind. You want this whole area as open as you can have it. So depending on what your restrictions are, keep in mind you want to be able to breathe as deeply as you can, because it'll keep your energy up and it'll also allow you to do more things. And the more oxygenated you are, the better your brain works. So find a way to keep this part as open as you can. If you can't, find other requirements. Maybe you lean back, but you can still keep this open, and just bring your mic a little closer to you, but make it work for you. And you want to be having fun. You don't want to be struggling. You never want to struggle when you're performing. You want to be free. So try to find a way to make it as open and free as possible.
Okay. The question was, where do you meet people? You were talking about getting work from people, and then the ripples effect can get you work.
Yes. So people, who do you know now? Where do you work now? Doesn't have to be, okay, I'm going to be doing voiceover, so I got to go to these voiceover places. Yes, you do want to go to the voiceover places. You do want to find out who does corporate videos in your neighborhood. And even small communities, people do corporate videos. And a lot of times they'll narrate them themselves terribly. So if you can give them a tape of you narrating it better, that's great. But start with where you work. Who do you know now? Talk to your parents, talk to your kids, talk to the schools your kids go to. Maybe they need a video done. Maybe they need, an announcement read every day, different things like that. Your church, all these places that you go every single day, chances are they need audio. and maybe they don't realize they need audio. Maybe they have, Principal Skinner reading the announcements every morning and everybody hates it. Maybe they have somebody with a soothing voice who knows what they're talking about and knows how to read it properly. Maybe you record it for them, whatever, that type of thing. Like, who do you know now in your community that know you and therefore would trust you? If I go and say, hey, I'm a professional voiceover artist and I'd love to do this for you, if they don't know who I am, it's like, we're fine. But if you're a part of that community, chances are that they'd appreciate, because keep in mind, you're trying to solve problems. That's the way you look at any client you're ever going to have. I'm here to solve your problem, and here's how I'm going to do it. That's the thing. It's not a sales job. It's you helping somebody else and you sharing information. So as long as you keep that mindset, you're going to find a lot more things. People come up with all kinds of ways of creating their own work. And frankly, I've created a lot more of my own work than I've gotten through the traditional standard of an agent, auditions, sessions. Create your own work, because that work will come back to you. Those people know you, trust you. If they like what you did, they'll come back to you again.
And Dan, I might add, like, that's actually one of the good spots for a place like, Upwork, because Upwork is for all kinds of freelance work. And I remember I did one on Upwork, and that person, I got emails afterwards saying, hey, my friend so-and-so said you did some voice work for him. I saw the video, and that's where I had a little bit of work come from that.
Yeah.
So that's that ripple effect.
Referrals will always get you more work than advertising every time. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So Dan, I think that's all the questions we had.
Oh, good. So I can give you a plug.
And this is great. We're at 6:20. 7:20. And so maybe we can end off with a few ending thoughts and then wrap it up from there, Dan, if you have some more stuff.
I do want to plug the voice spot.
Let's do all the plugs right now, and then we'll go and we'll see if anyone else has any more questions.
Sure.
So go ahead. You do your first plug, Dan, then I'll do a plug.
Okay. So anybody who's listened all the way through, I appreciate it. Thanks for coming out, and thank you, Yvonne, for setting this up through TAP. So for any of our classes that are on voicebot.ca, you can get $25 off by just using the code TAPDAN25. So TAPDAN 25, you'll get $25 off until the end of January. So if you're watching this on the record, TAPDAN 25. And that's just our thank you for sitting through this. We do have some level 1 classes, which are basically, it's called the voiceover adventures for beginners coming up, who want to just give it a tire kick and just try it out. We've got a couple of spaces left in our next class coming up, I think in 2 weeks. Then we have a level 2, which is people who've taken level 1, obviously, but also for people who have performance background. I think we have 1 or 2 coming up in our next class, which starts in February. And again, it's and yes, they are online, and there's a reason for that. It's cheaper. Also, we can do the classes. We don't have to be restricted to how many people are in each city. So we're doing classes in Edmonton and Calgary and Regina and Toronto and Montreal, but we would always have to have a minimum of 6 people. Or we'd have more when we're in person. And the other ones too is now that we're doing them online, they're smaller classes, and we found that people anywhere in the world can now take these classes as long as you're, don't mind getting up in the middle of the night or early in the morning or whenever it is. But those are the classes coming up. Go to our website. There's other classes. I also do a voice gym every month. Every Wednesday, middle Wednesday of each month. It's $75, and you can work on, you can either bring stuff that is a problem for you or that you want personal coaching on. We take a maximum of 6 people in that as well. And you get a minimum of 20 minutes of one-on-one coaching. And if you're working on scripts for a demo, bring them as well. And if you don't have anything, you just want to do it a la carte, I bring a specific teaching item each month as well. And we also have a audiobook version of that, which is an audiobook workout at the end of every month with Dawn Harvey, who's a world-renowned narrator, and she also teaches our audiobook class. Now, the gym and the audiobook workout, you do not get $25 off of those, because we don't charge a whole lot for them as it is. So, but any of the regular classes, that's where you get the TAPDAN 25. So there's my shameless plugging.
Cool. And so, gang, as you know, this is thank you, Jesus. We'll address your question in a minute. This is all kind of a big production of what's called the Actors Place. I know some of you might have heard of it. Want to share really quickly before we get to our last few sentences exactly what goes on at the Actors Place. Tomorrow is a free trial session. So one of the best ways to do it is sort of like the Matrix. You have to experience it for yourself. I'll be running a free trial session. Essentially, if you've ever been to an acting class, it takes the acting class format and reverses it. So instead of sitting down for 4 hours and watching for most of the time, you're working, performing, or rehearsing for most of the time. It's the difference between taking a class and going to the gym. We're not necessarily teaching acting. We are practicing acting by constantly working. Most people say the time goes by way too fast, even though it's 3 hours long, because you're working so much or performing so much. Tomorrow's a free session. If you want more questions, if you can't make it tomorrow, don't you even worry about it. Here is a couple of little quick resources for you. Number one, go to our website. We literally have the acting gym and everything there. We have a blog with tons of information. And if you ever want scripts, we have a whole database of scripts that you can use for scenes, dare I say, for the occasional voice demo if you need to. And it's all available here at the Actors Place. You can also check out our meetup right here. This is our meetup group, and you can see all the upcoming meetups we have when you scroll down. And we have in-person sessions every Friday in Toronto and online sessions on Thursdays.
Saturday, don't you do the in-person on Saturdays?
In-person in Toronto on Saturdays, and Thursdays is online. And gang, you can find all the information at theactorsplace.org. All right, let's get to our last question for today. I wanted to ask, since I want to pursue becoming a voice actor as a career, would you recommend going to college, if not much performance background? I think he means maybe going to a college to take like a more like formal voice acting course or acting course.
Yeah, the thing with schools, I mean, some of them do teach voiceover as a part of the acting curriculum, but it's not. Most of the schools teach radio broadcast, and that's a different animal altogether. I have to train people who do broadcasting how to do voiceover after they've done broadcasting for many years because they get bad habits. There's lots of great programs out there for voiceover. As I say, I would probably check out a few of them. If there's a voiceover program at a college near you, by all means, give it a shot and see what happens. Like I can say, the more information you can steal from different people, take it from them. Like take the information and make it your own. What do you do? But yes, definitely acting is going to help you because it helps you get rid of the inhibitions so that you can open up, so you can share. It's not about being somebody else. It's not being dramatic. It's about you learning how to be real. Being confident, being yourself in an unnatural situation. So being natural in an unnatural situation. Improv is going to help you as well. As scary as that is, it can be a lot of fun too. But that also will help you in any kind of performance, whether it be dancing, acting, or voiceover. Those are two things that you can definitely, and bottom line is practice. Like start reading to kids and grandparents. Grandparents need people to read to them because they can't see anymore, and they want to hear stories. And the thing is, it gives you a chance to start telling stories to people you know. We had a great group in Regina that started going out once a week to a senior's home, and they were sort of doing radio dramas, and that was just a blast. They just had a great time doing that. But that kind of stuff, start getting used to performing in a real situation with friends of yours, or we have
Dan, sorry to interrupt. We just got we got like 2 minutes left, and we have one more question. Just so you know, I want to wrap up this last thought so we can get to this last
play. There's never enough play. Do more play.
So, the last question was from Sophie. Sophie's bilingual, and she wants to know, should she have a French demo and an English demo, or should she have both in the same demo?
I would put both. Do have individual demos? And have one with a combination, because that's something very important. A lot of people will hire you if you can do both cleanly without an accent. That'll get you all kinds of work. I got a friend of mine who does both all over the world. The only thing is make sure that if your English or your French does not have an accent to it. And I don't mean a French accent. It can't have if you're in Montreal, you can't have an Ontario French accent. So even if you're doing French, try and make it as generic as you can. And same with English. Try to make it as generic as possible. It can't sound like it's a Cape Breton English or a Texan English. It's got to sound Midwestern. Same thing for French. Got to sound, that my buddy who does that professionally and does very well took him a long time to learn how to be generic.
And if I might add, Dan, I have about like 6 demo reels now. So I have a normal generic English demo reel. I have a demo reel where I'm speaking English with a Latino accent because I do a lot of Latino work. I have an all Spanish demo reel. I have a mix just in case for like the generic. I have, and I think I have a French one too as well, Sophie. So I have a bunch of, and they're all like 30 seconds, if that. They're all like boom, 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 boom.
And if you can have a website or someplace or a YouTube, or whatever,
that's exactly what I do,
where you've got them all listed, because you can't, let them have a choice. Like, you should see my on camera. I've got everything I've ever done on camera, so that if they want to see the whole demo, that's one thing, or they can just look at specific comedy. Okay. Drama. Okay. Whatever. And the same with voice demos, have them all so that people can listen to whatever they want to hear, because they want you to solve their problems.
So gang, how about, can you guys do me a favor, just for everyone who's here, if you could turn on your cameras for a moment, and how about we give a little love, a little visual love to Dan Wilmot. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you all so much for joining us today. Really appreciate everybody being here, coming in. Our international crew. Oh, we got a doubler. Look at this Natalie V. There's 2 in 1 room. Amazing. Thank you all so much for being here. Thank you all so much for coming out. Dan's website is voicespot.ca for voice training. You all got here because you went to the Actors Place meetup group, so you all know all about that. Tomorrow's our free session. Thank you all very much, everybody, and have a good rest of your day, evening, or afternoon.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you. Have a good one. Cheers.
Thank you.
Happy New Year.
Bye.
See you.
Good night.
Bye, everybody. Take care.
Yeah, thanks again.
Hey, by the way, are you going to be able to send this recording?
Yeah, I'm going to send a message out. This was live streamed on YouTube, so it'll be on our YouTube channel. Go to the Actors Place on YouTube and you'll be able to see the recording. It's also on our Facebook group.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
No worries, guys. Thanks. Good question.
Glad you made it, Colin.
I should have mentioned Colin. I should have